Welcome to learn more about Sage Time and Attendance. I'm Joe Rotella, one of your co-hosts for this afternoon's seminar. This is part of an ongoing series where we're talking about smart add-ons that make a difference from hire to retire. This is episode 3 in our series, and today our focus is Sage Time and Attendance. So this wheel here depicts really the employment life cycle, but more from a Sage ecosphere point of view. So it all starts with applicant tracking and onboarding. Our last episode, we focused on iRecruit. Then we have benefits management, time and attendance, which is our focus today. We'll visit that in just a second. Payroll, employee and manager self-service, performance management, training management, analytics, alerts and workflow, and utilities. So when you're part of the Sage HRMS ecosphere, you can really choose any of those wedges that are right for you, that really fit your needs. You don't have to buy everything, even though you don't use everything. You buy and use exactly what's right for you. And today our focus is Sage Time and Attendance. It's a core part of this employee lifecycle. From day one, it captures accurate time, supports scheduling and leave management throughout the employment, and ensures clean, compliant data flows into payroll and HR systems. By automating these steps, it reduces admin burden, controls costs, and helps create a positive experience for employees and managers alike. Now, we recognize when we talk with folks, there are really 6 core time and attendance business challenges: compliance and risk mitigation, cost control and payroll accuracy, workforce efficiency and productivity, strategic labor planning, integration and data flow, and employee engagement and retention. So rather than show you a lot of slides today, I've asked Michael Blankenheim, who is an expert on Sage Time and Attendance, to show us the software, and really we're going to focus in on these 6 real-world challenges. The way this is going to work is I'm going to frame each challenge. We're going to start with a question so we can learn a little bit more about you, and then Michael's going to show you how Sage Time and Attendance addresses it. What do you think, Michael? You ready to roll?
I'm all set, Joe.
So Michael's going to do the clicks while I share the story. And we're just going to stick to 1 or 2 screens per challenge so you can see the how without getting lost in all the navigation. And to buy you a little bit more screen real estate, I'm going to turn off my camera. And I want to start with a quick poll. So here's my first question for you guys. What's your biggest compliance headache right now when it comes to time and attendance? Is it meal and break violations? Is it remote worker time tracking? Paid family medical leave rules? Keeping audit-ready records? Or all of the above? Where are you like, oh, Joe, this is my problem. Fix this problem for me. So I'm going to give you just a few seconds to collect those responses. But I'm really curious. Michael, what do you think? Which one's going to be the top winner here?
I'm not sure. Probably, I'm not sure. All of the above. I'll go with that.
So I'm going to close out this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hurry up, hurry up. Every time I get to 3 or 2, people start clicking. We're at 69%, 72%. Come on, can I get 75? Let me hear 75, 75, 75, 75, 75. Give me 1 more, 2 more clicks. Come on, folks. Let us know where your biggest challenges are. I'm going to close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's see what our answers were. Michael, you hit the nail on the head. 37%, all of the above. And then the rest are pretty close to about a fifth, right? Remote worker time tracking comes in at a solid 20. And then paid and family medical leave, FMLA, that's always a hard one, folks. That's 17%. Keeping audit-ready records and meal break violations is at 13%. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. So the first challenge we're going to talk about is compliance and risk mitigation. Compliance risk is real. Missed meals, break violations, and edits without a trail. Let's look at how Sage Time and Attendance enforces rules and keeps records audit-ready so you stay compliant with FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act. Let's not forget our Canadian friends, though. Sage Time and Attendance also has several key features that assist Canadian employers in maintaining compliance with the Canada Labour Code and other labor laws. We've also got you covered when it comes to FEMLA, collective bargaining agreements, paid family and medical leave, FLMA, and state and province specific wage theft prevention laws. So first, Sage Time and Attendance automates time tracking, capturing exact clock in and break times to ensure employees are paid for every minute worked. It enforces labor rules like required breaks and overtime and alerts you to potential issues before they become costly. So Michael, what can you show us about compliance?
So Joe, I'd like to start just by pointing out, right now we're just looking at an employee's punches page. So right now I've got the employee Donna Christian up there in my dropdown, and I've moved to her punches page. So the system can be set up to monitor employees' behavior, for example. So if you have policies that say, hey, notify me if an employee, or notify their supervisor if an employee clocks in more than 15 minutes late, or they leave early, or anything like that. So here on this page, we can actually see a few examples of that. So we can see here a day that the employee did not take lunch. We can see a day when they clocked in later than they should have. And we can also see in red here this missing punch. So this will be generated when an employee has 2 consecutive in punches or 2 consecutive out punches. The system basically says, well, how can you have 2 in punches when you never clocked out? So it basically throws a line in there in red and says, hey, some kind of punch is missing here. We need to correct that. If you'll also notice, to Joe's point, it shows any rounding rules that we may have in place. But in this particular instance, we can see here this punch was rounded. So it captures their actual time at 8:16. And it shows their rounded time at 8:15. So this is the time that it actually pays the employee off of, but it does keep that historical record of what was their actual punch time. Now, if we'd like to get a little more detail on any of these records, I can click on this pencil here, and it will show me those same things. So we can see here our no lunch taken for our attendance record. It shows us our rounding source rule, but we can also see other rounding source rules. So if we were actually rounding the employee's punch to their scheduled start time, this would have said scheduled, and it would have rounded according to those rules. We can also look at different pay types. So we can say pay them a certain type of pay during this shift, or pay them a particular shift that they're in at that time. We can also track towards any GL or cost centers or just org levels in general. We can also set that here. And finally, 2 other things is there's a comment down here at the bottom. So if we want to enter one now, we can, or it would show any previously entered comment there. And also we can tell where did this record come from? Was this manually entered in the system? Did this come from a web clock, a mobile clock, hardware clock? What is it? So it would actually tell you where this came from. And if you have hardware clocks and things, you can actually give them names. So you can tell, oh, this was the warehouse clock, or oh, this was the office clock. So it can get specific in that naming detail as well. Now, if we'd like to go and say, well, that's all great information, but who actually entered this record, or what audit edits have been made? So this little dog-eared piece of paper here is an audit log. So we can click on that, and we can see here that this punch was actually manually entered by Veronica Bell yesterday at 2:06 p.m. And we can see that Veronica came in a little less than an hour later at 2:55, and she updated that punch record, and she changed the org level position to engineer 1. And then at some point in time, somebody came in and tried to approve her time. Now, if we made another adjustment to this record, these 3 records would be squashed down, and the latest or the newest record would be placed on top. And it will continue to do so as any other edits are made to that record.
And Michael, 13% of folks said keeping audit-ready records was a challenge for them. I think you nailed it.
Yeah, and this information here, again, it's just ready to be run in a report. So we're going to go into reporting a little bit later, but there are reports that you can pull up to show you all those audit logs. So you don't have to basically click on each one of these. There's a report that'll run that'll pull all that information in.
Cool.
So yeah, this is great for supporting FLSA and state or provincial rules, including remote standards and PFML tracking. So
perfect. So the basics here, It captures actual clock in, clock out times to ensure employees are paid for all hours worked. It stores time records for the required period. So for FLSA, that's at least 2 years for wage records, 3 years for payroll records. It maintains separate tracking for non-exempt versus exempt employees to ensure the right rules are applied. It enforces consistent rounding rules to avoid favoritism or unintentional underpayment. It's configurable to reflect different rules for employees in different jurisdictions. And it provides clear historical records if an employee files a wage claim or lawsuit. So the key here is that Sage Time and Attendance shifts compliance from being a reactive burden into a proactive advantage. It saves you time, it reduces risk, and it protects your business. So compliance, no worries. Let's talk about challenge number 2, cost control and payroll accuracy. So I want to share another poll with you. How often do you catch overtime issues after payroll has already closed? Is this happening every time you do a payroll run? Is it maybe once or twice a month? Is it rarely or never? I got this covered. So I'm just curious, how often do you catch those overtime issues? Because overtime is costly. And sometimes, we try in budgeting to predict overtime, but we don't always get it right. So then that can screw up budgets, and it ends up a really slippery slope. So I'm hoping 75% of you let me know your answer. How often do you catch overtime issues? We're at 50%, so I need a few more of you to click in. This isn't like, well, think of it like Jeopardy. You should be clicking right away, like you're pressing that buzzer. But I still want to get you to 75%. We're at 58. Come on, come on, come on. A few more. Michael, you want to take a guess where this one comes out?
I'll say every payroll run.
Wow. Okay, so you every folks are
I give my clients more credit maybe than they deserve. No, but I think people are pretty diligent on that, I would hope.
I hope so. So we're close to my 75%. I'm going to close out this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2. Well, every time I hit 2, you folks wake up and click. That just amazes me. There's got to be a psychology behind that. Okie doke, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see if Michael was right. Check this out, Michael. How often do you catch overtime issues after payroll is closed? 38% were rarely. 27% said we got it covered. Then once or twice a month, and 15% said every payroll run. Every payroll run. So thank you so much for sharing that. Hidden labor cost often means overtime creep and error correction. And we want to catch and prevent it upstream and make sure that we send payroll really clean totals. Sage Time and Attendance helps you control labor costs 4 key ways. So we're going to step through each of these 4 ways. First, it gives you clear labor reports, so you know where your money's going. Sage Time and Attendance also generates audit-ready reports and integrates seamlessly with your HR and payroll system, so your pay policies are applied accurately and consistently. In short, Sage Time and Attendance turns FLSA compliance into this, proactive advantage. And the key here is making sure that we're controlling costs and that payroll is always accurate. So, Michael, do you have a couple reports you can show us that demonstrate this?
Yeah, we're going to get into the overtime and controlling that a little bit later. But I've come into the reports section of the area here, and this is really kind of going to your point about compliance and the data that we're storing. And thank you. Okay. So I've come into the reports area here. I pulled up a report called Data Export and Payroll. So just to touch upon the reports in the system a little bit. So as you can see here, I can run on the current pay period that I'm in, which is actually in the past a little bit. I'm in the 310 to 316 period here, you can see. But I can run this on anything I want. I can run this on the last quarter, last week, last month, custom range. So you can run these reports on any range you'd like. I will say with this, the report data export, if you've got, several hundred employees and you've got all kinds of punch information, you may not be able to run it for say a year-long period, you may have to break it down into quarters and things like that, simply because most web browsers, while they're generating the report, they'll time out after a certain length of time. So just keep that in mind if you ever run into reports or things like that. But we can also, down below, we can specify who this report runs on. So if we just wanted it to run on a specific employee or a handful of employees, we could designate who those employees were. In this case, I'll just say run it on all my pay groups. So it's basically going to pull everybody in the system, because everybody has to have a pay group, and it's going to run this report on everybody in the system. Down a little further, I can specify more things. I can say, okay, I want to see all the punch data, but I also want all my hours and dollars. So if there's any hour records in the system are pretty much anything other than dollars and punches. So think salary, bereavement, PTO, jury duty, anything like that is considered an hours record. So we want to pull all that information as well. So down here on the bottom, I'm going to click generate here. There are different ways to generate this report. So you could have it as a PDF or things like that. I have actually already generated this report. So I'm just going to come down here and pull this up for y'all. So this is an example of that. Close those down. Of that data. So you can see here, Hugh Allen, he's a salaried employee, so he doesn't actually have punch time, so that's why these are blank here, but he has salary type. So we can see here, he has salary amounts. Here we can see John is a punching employee, so it actually shows us his in punch for the day, what time it was at and the date. We can see his out punch for the day, what time it was at. All that information is stored here. If we scroll over to the right, we get some more information. So it actually tells us how many hours were they on the clock. If we have wages in the system, it'll show us their pay rate, how much per hour they're working. It'll show us the shift type they've got. It will show us any org level information that were, so GL segments, costs, all that kind of stuff is there. It even shows us comments that are attached to that punch or that hour record. And again, you can see here, I just ran it for a month. And it pulls out all that information. So this is completely audit ready and available to you at your fingertips. The other thing you might want, other than actual payroll information, is the accrual information. So an employee may question, or you may get audited on that. So there is another report called Data Export Accruals, and I have also run that report. And we can see here, it shows us a complete detailed record of an employee's accrual bucket. In this case, it's showing me Hugh Allen's PTO bucket. So here's that PTO type, and we can see the transaction. So he took some hours on that day. How many hours did he take? 8 hours. He accrued some hours on this date. How many hours did he accrue? 12. So it shows all those transactions. We get into year end, or their pay period, or their, accrual year end. It shows us anything that would have carried over, anything that would have expired. All that is shown on this report. So, and again, this is just a 1 month rundown, and we can just see all that information. So if they have separate buckets, so we can see here a sick bucket, we see that sick time as well. All right, that's all I had. I'll give it back over to you.
So, Michael, these are just a few of the reports available, right?
Yeah, that's actually a good thing to point out. So there are all kinds of standard reports in the system that you have the ability to select from. So again, I just showed you 2 of them. There are plenty more. And actually, when we talked about that audit one, I'll just point this out quick. There is an audit log. So I had mentioned earlier, instead of having to click on those individual dog-eared pieces of paper, this is a report that will basically pull up all the audit changes. So you can say, well, I just want to know any edits that were made to accruals or anything like that. Or you say, I want to know any changes in the system, and do I care about what was added, what was deleted or updated, or again, you might want to know anything anybody touched. And you can run this report, and it will just be, list out each record and what was modified, if you will, or what audits were made.
Perfect. So for cost control and payroll accuracy, we talked about 4 things. The first thing was clear reports. We definitely have you covered there. The second thing is alerts, and I love alerts. It's going to alert you to absences and overtime risks before they become expensive. So Michael, show me my favorite thing, alerts.
All right. All right, and this is kind of where we get into that kind of help control overtime. All right, there we go. All right, so as we can see here, whoopsie, on the wrong page. Get into exceptions there. Go into my alerts. So there's a couple of places you can get to alerts. Again, in here, you can see there's an alerts page. There's also this little orange bell. This is the best place to go because as alerts come in, this number will increase. So if I just click on that, it will take me to my alerts page. And if you remember earlier, we saw Donna Christian. She had some laid ins and things like that. Well, here we can see those. So here's that laid in that Donna had. She's got some others down here, but here's the ones I want to focus on right now, this approaching premium. So this is something that can help you, again, see overtime coming ahead of time. So I had the system configured to say, show me an employee at the end of the day when they clock out, show me if their totals are between 36 and 40 hours. And why did I set it up that way? Well, if it's, say, Thursday night, and my organization's a Monday through Friday organization, if I get an email or run this report Thursday night or Friday morning, and I get an alert saying, hey, Donna's in that window, I know if she comes in and works Friday and she works a full 8-hour shift, she's going to have overtime because I know she's already at 36 hours. So it's a really nice way to get ahead of that. And then if you'd like to actually see where in the system is she at. So if we go to her total hours page, we can see right now that she's at 37.25 hours. Well, let's say it's Friday and I want to know, well, where is she at right now? She might be on the clock. If you see down in the bottom, we have the show time as of now. If I click on that, the system will total her hours as of this very minute. Now, I don't have Donna on the clock right now, so that time did not change. But you can see how it added this as of 2:22. So our system right now is at 2:22 p.m. and it would have increased this. So maybe it says 42.25 or something like that. And then we can make that decision. Hey, do we go and send Donna home early today, or is it necessary for her to be here and continue working? So it's a great little feature to actually go in there and see exactly where an employee's time is. It's real-time data that you can use, again, right at your fingertips.
So I love that. Alerts to me is like Mrs. Kravitz on Bewitched, if you're old enough to remember that. So we covered reports, we covered alerts. Our third part of this, I want to talk about the real return on investment, automating compliance, reducing errors and penalties, and advanced scheduling. That's really going to cut overtime and turnover costs. Sage Time and Attendance isn't just a timekeeping tool, it's a cost control engine. And Michael, you have a great example to show us this in action, I think.
Yeah, so a lot of times, a great way to do this is, as far as compliance goes, are state laws or regulations that we need to follow. Any of you out there who are in California know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to kind of speak to that right here. So if those of you who are not aware, California has a statute or a law in place that says any employee who works over 8 hours in a day gets overtime. So the system can handle that automatically. So here we can see on the 12th, the employee actually worked 8.15 hours. And the system automatically realizes they hit their 8-hour threshold, and it pays them the next 0.15 hours as overtime. California also has a 7th-day overtime rule. So basically, if an employee works 7 days in a row, and there's some specifications with that, but if they work seven days in a row, their first 8 hours of time on that 7th day are paid at overtime, and anything above 8 hours is paid at double time. Again, the system can do that automatically. So whether they've hit their 40-hour threshold, or if you're in another jurisdiction that has 35 is the overtime threshold, whatever that threshold is, it's going to pay that first 8 hours as overtime for this day, and the second, anything above and beyond that as double time. Again, that's automatic. You don't have anything to do with it. You just let it do its thing. The other thing it can do is, in California, if an employee takes too short of a lunch, they fail to take a lunch, or they take lunch too late in the day, they're awarded an extra hour of pay, basically. The system can automatically detect that. So it has settings in the system that says, oh, they didn't take a lunch, or it was only 29 minutes, or whatever it was, to pay them an extra hour. So this automatically adds on to the employee's timesheet at that time. Now, something I don't have demonstrated on this timesheet, but what the system can do is if you pay your employees for breaks. So if you say, oh, employees get 2 15-minute paid breaks a day, and we pay them for that. It's like, okay, great. But what happens if they clock out for 18 minutes? So the system would pay them for the first 15, and then those 3 minutes after that, they're unpaid. So that would not be paid. Besides doing that, you may have a policy that says, well, we don't really care if it's a 15-minute break, or they can take a half-hour break, 1/2 hour break. They could take a 10-minute break in the morning, a 20-minute break. We don't care. We're just going to, 30 minutes is what we're paying. System can be set up to do that. It can combine their punch, their break times or break blocks, if you will. And if they exceed that 30-minute limit or whatever limit you set in place, it will not pay them above and beyond that. It just will cut them off at the 30 minutes that they get paid for breaks. So, and again, I'm just touching on a few of the things in the system. You can kind of see how it can take a burden off you and your team of having to manually go through and find these things.
So I've got one more in our 4 areas for cost control and payroll accuracy. Remember, we did reports, we did alerts. Michael just talked a little bit about, advanced scheduling, but the real thing here is the handoff to payroll. That's the critical part, right? Time collection and scheduling isn't enough. For payroll systems, Sage Time and Attendance feeds payroll totals at the end of the pay period to the system, and that automates timekeeping and scheduling tasks. This helps control overtime labor costs and reduce compliance risk by applying relevant pay rules. So, Michael, can you show us how we can make sure things are clean, spotless, before we pass it over to payroll?
I sure can. So as you can all see, I've moved into an area called end of period procedures. And we just go right down the list. Now, because I'm logged in as an administrator, it's going to pull everybody up on the approvals page. But if I happen to be a supervisor and I go in and I only supervise 6 people, it's only going to pull up those 6 people plus myself. So 7 people will be listed on this approvals page. So if I were to click launch approvals, a new window would appear, and this is kind of what it would look like. It will pull up all our employees on the left here, normally listed by pay group. There's different ways to sort that up here. But you can see here, it gives us the total hours for the period. And then of those total hours, how many of them were regular salary? How many were overtime? How many were double time, holiday, time off, sick, etc. And we can see all that here. So as you go down the list and you're running through your employees, once you get on the bottom here, you can just click supervisor approve all, and it will check everybody's name in, hit save, and it'll approve it. Now, why isn't Donna approved? Well, if you'll remember earlier when we were looking at Donna's time card, she had a missing punch on her time card. So if I come in here and I try to approve this time for Donna, the system has a checks and balance out there. It's going to look for any missing punches the employee has. It's also going to look for any open period requests that may impact this time period. If somebody asks for time off out in November, it doesn't care. That's then, that's not now. It just wants to deal with things in this period. And as you can see here, I'm getting an error. It's saying, hey, Donna's got missing punches. You can't approve her time until you go fix these punches. And I can't export time until I approve her time. So basically, it's a check and balance to make sure everybody's time is accurate and ready to go before you actually process it. Once we actually clean this up, if we come back into the system, the next step is simply exporting time. So we just come down here, export time, we go over into payroll, we process that time there, we post it, and the final step is just coming into the pay period, and we're going to close this pay period out. Now, if you have multiple pay periods, you would simply select the one that you're processing and actually paying out. It kind of gives you the dates here in red saying, hey, we're going to close this pay period and we're going to lock it down so that you can't make any changes. Now, that's not etched in stone. We can always open the period back up if we need to make adjustments, but we don't want people just going in there willy-nilly making changes to what we just paid people on. That's our, the records aren't going to match them. So that's basically what that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, go ahead, Michael.
Okay, so that's basically what this payroll history and accruals history does. When we hit this ended period, it basically takes all the data in the system for this pay period and it writes it into a permanent record. So if we, get audited in the future, we can run that data export payroll report, and all this data will spit out for us.
Michael, I've never met one payroll person in my life that's okay with willy-nilly. So I think you've nailed
That's good.
cost
That's a
control.
technical term in
It's technical. I
HR.
get it. So I want to move on to challenge number 3 because we've got 4 more to go, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to talk about workforce efficiency and productivity. Now, I'm afraid to launch this poll with you guys because one of the answers especially scares me. But how do employees submit time off requests at your organization today? How many of you are doing paper, PDF, or email, an Excel or a shared spreadsheet, a timekeeping system or a self-service portal, a mobile app, or other? Now, if you say other, I want you to tell me what that is in the Q&A box or the chat, anywhere that's good for you. And we got a lot to cover here, so I'm going to wrap this up quick. You know your answer fast, just click it in. How do your employees submit time off requests at your organization today? And I'm going to close this out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 74%. You're almost at 75. Can I have one more person? One more person. Click that in there for me. Okie doke. I'm good to go. Michael, this scares me. This scares me because 46% I'm happy with timekeeping system, but neck and neck, 43%, you're still messing around with paper and PDF and emails. It's 2025, folks. It's 2025. I just hosted somebody from Japan for a week with a translator app on my phone, and you're doing time off requests by paper or email. We got to change that. We got to change that. So I'm going to hide this. And 4% said other. Tell me in the Q&A. I want to know what you're doing because I couldn't think of any other choices here. So I'm going to hide this. And managers chasing timesheets, employees chasing HR. That's time that's not spent on doing real work. That's time not spent helping the organization achieve its vision. I need to streamline that. And a great place to start is managing these time off requests. So Michael, how do we get away from paper and PDFs and emails?
Sure. So I'd like to start this portion over in like employee self-service. So if many of you may use Sage Employee Self-Service, if that is the case, you can go to this screen here, put in a username and password, and sign in. Now, when you get into the system here, you might think, well, we're talking about time off requests and things like that. You may think, oh, I'm going to go up here. Well, there is a way to do that if you're actually storing your information in HRMS and calculating it all there. But what we want to go is down here to my menus. And in here, you can see things like I could go and punch in and out from the system, but I'm actually going to click on the time and attendance link here. Now, you'll notice when I do that, I do not need a username and password to get into my time and attendance system. It logged me in as the employee. I'm right there. It's a single click and I'm in the time and attendance system. So that's a real convenience. Now, again, just like the alerts in the system, there are several places to get to requests in the system. I'm just going to point out here, we can get it right here in this, and I'm just going to click on that. And there are several different requests we have in the time and attendance system. So if I come down here, we've got a general request. This is like a back and forth message. I can message somebody, they can reply back. Very simple. If I forgot to punch yesterday for some reason or anything, I could put in a punch request. I could say, hey, I need an out punch yesterday at 5 o'clock. I was in a hurry. I just ran out. Can you please put that in? You can put that request in. If it's approved by the supervisor, the system automatically adds that record to the timesheet. So it's not like the supervisor's got to go running around and add things to a piece. It's done automatically via the request. Same via a schedule change. If I want to come in 2 hours early tomorrow, my kid's got a recital, I want to leave 2 hours early, I can put that request in. Again, if it's approved, it will automatically adjust my schedule. And you might think to yourself, well, do I really need to adjust the schedule? Well, if you have things in place like clocking in early or clocking in late or things like that, this will adjust their schedule so you're not getting false alerts over just a change schedule, basically. About what we're going to focus on right here is the time off request. So if we come in here, again, if I've got multiple supervisors assigned to me, I can select the appropriate one to send it to. By clicking on this plus, it brings up a calendar view for me with the different pay types I can select. So in my system, I have it configured that they can ask for these types of pay. If you don't want them to see that, or if you want things like bereavement or jury duty added, we can add that to it. So I'm just going to select a date here and ask for PTO and just hit add dates. When I do that, it's going to pull up my PTO bucket. So it actually shows me how many hours I have in my PTO bucket. If I use these 8 hours, what am I going to have left? And if I was just taking a half day or something, I could tell my schedule or my supervisor, I'm going to be out in the morning or I'm going to be out in the afternoon. So you can specify when you're going to be gone. You can add a comment in there, and obviously you can submit that request. Now, when the request is submitted, it can trigger an email that is sent to the supervisor, and it will send an email to the supervisor saying, hey, in this case, Mr. Winters is going to receive one saying, hey, Donna, Christian just put in a time off request. So I'm just going to pop over here to their supervisor and go into the request page. Now, this is my request page, but I do have my employees that I supervise. And if I come in there, there's that request from Donna. I can click on that. It shows me exactly what Donna saw. So I can see, hey, there's her PTO bucket. I know she's got plenty of time. If she put any comment in there or scheduling change, I can see that. The only thing I don't know, who else has off that day? Do I have coverage? So up here in the upper right, I can click on this little calendar. It will open in a new window showing me any employees who already have off that day. We can see, hey, nobody does. So I can just say, yeah, whoopsie, let me move this over here. Keep that little drop down. There we go. I'm just going to approve this request. Now, as I approve it, for me, the supervisor, it disappears. It's out of sight, out of mind. I don't need to worry about it anymore. If I come back in to this little calendar view here and I refresh this, we should see those hours populate. There it is. And it tells us she has off the number of hours and the type. So the next time somebody sends me a request for that day and I look at it, I can see that she actually has, or, that Donna actually has off that day. And I may take that into consideration, whether I want to approve the next person's or not. So very simple process. And the nice thing is, if you are using our advanced scheduler, this will update the advanced scheduler as well. So it will send that PTO time off basically to the scheduler. It'll update their schedule, and then their scheduler will push the schedules back into time and attendance, and the circle of life continues.
Fantastic.
Now,
if you really want to boost efficiency and productivity, let people punch where they work. So this just came in as a question as Q&A, and your timing was perfect. Your employee's not at a desk? No worries. Physical clocks, the mobile app, web punch, let Sage Time and Attendance work where your people work. So what are all our options here, Mike?
So many options, actually, Joe. So the first two slides here, or the ones on your left, I should say, are our mobile app. So the mobile app can be configured to allow punching and PTO requests and things like that, or one or the other. So if you don't want your employees to actually punch in or out from the mobile app, we can turn that off. But in this case, we're talking about punching, so we're gonna talk about that. So you can see here they've got the ability to do that. If they're actually going to commit a punch, we're going to punch in from lunch here. You notice, just like in the system, you can add a comment to the punch, and you can track org level information. So GL, SEGs, cost centers, all that kind of information can be tracked. And then you hit submit, and it will track your punch just like you were at a clock. The other thing we have is our hardware clocks. Now, shown here is one of our latest, greatest, the new GT8, and they also have a GT10, which is just the same clock, but bigger. But it has the facial recognition that a lot of clients are going to. It also has, I'll just mention our GT Connect that we're going to. This has a new feature that you can actually, it forces compliance from the employees. So the employees every 30 days, 90 days, whatever you set up, it says, hey, you're giving us permission to store your facial feature or your fingerprint, or it forces the employee to give that compliance and makes them aware that that data is being stored. I will point out, if the employee is terminated, that data is blasted out of the database. It's lost immediately. And we do have other hardware clock options available as well, with just fingerprint scanning or things like that, or badges, swiping badges. Next, we have a web clock. So this is just, again, a clock you pull up on a web page. An employee can go in and put in a username, password. Again, they've got the comment section here. If we are tracking org levels, we could expand this and select the org levels or cost centers that we needed to track our time to. And then we do have the different punch types. So, if we're punching in, we punch in. I will point out as well, if you're not using out for lunch or transfers or things like that, those are not shown. We hide that out and it cleans the clock up. And finally, I just wanted to point out a feature that we also have. We can lock punching out based upon like an IP address or geofencing, things like that. So we can limit what people have access to. So in this instance, I'm blocking it by IP address. The employee, if they were home, they'd get this response. If they were at your campus or your location and their device was logged into your network, they would be able to punch. They wouldn't get this message when they tried to punch. And finally, we have the ability to actually manually enter time in the system. And the easiest way to do that is via a timesheet. There we go. Sorry, let's get a little log behind there. There we go. This is our timesheet view. And I'm on a punches timesheet. So you can see here we have different punches. So in for day, out, in from lunch, out. So it's very easy to come in here and add an entire day's time. So I could say I came in at 8, I left at 11:30, I came back from lunch at 12:30, and I left for the day at 5 o'clock. And that easy, and I could track that to any department or division or anything I needed to by hitting save. It would add those 4 punches in for that day. But we can also add, if you're not just tracking punches, say you're adding like blocks of time, we can also have a timesheet that adds hours to it. So this is where they would just say, rather than entering in and out times, they just say, oh, I worked 8 hours here or 4 hours here, and then they could add in another line below it to say I worked 4 hours here and change the division and department. Again, each record has a comment available, just like if it were a punch and things like that. And it will respect any rounding rules. So if I was on the punches ad and I put in 8:16, if there's a rounding rule, it's going to round that punch time that I entered based upon the rules that you set up. And finally, just to point out, these different timesheets, you can see how I have an hours timesheet and a punches timesheet and things. We can build that all on one. So if you wanted hours and punches on the same timesheet, we can set that up. So these are somewhat customizable to fit your particular organization's needs. All right, Joe, let's talk about labor planning. And I think
perfect. And we got to do it fast.
That next goal. Okay.
We have about 15 minutes left. So we are efficient and productive, and Sage Time and Attendance can work anywhere your people work. So as Michael said, we're going to talk about strategic labor planning. I have another quick question, but you guys got to be fast. When do you usually discover a shift coverage problem? Is it at the start of the shift, which of course that's too late? Is it the day before? Is it a few days before? Or do you use proactive scheduling tools? So when do you know, whoops, we got a problem, people. We got a problem. We're going to need a bigger boat. At the start of the shift, the day before, a few days before, or you're on top of it. You're proactive. So I'm going to close out this poll. Got to get you trained to move fast. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's true to form. It's true to form. 39% of you are finding out at the start of the shift. Just a little bit less, about a third, proactive scheduling tools. That's what I want to see, folks. 17% a few days before, and 11% the day before. Knowing Friday's problem on Monday changes everything. We move from being reactive to proactive staffing. Sage Time and Attendance offers a comprehensive suite of advanced features to support labor planning. Advanced scheduling can accommodate employee preferences, shift coverage management, and real-time notifications, ensuring that shifts are filled by qualified employees and reducing scheduling time. Sage Time and Attendance can also automatically allocate hours for a pay period to specific organizational levels, streamlining labor planning process. So Michael, show us fast because we've got 2 more challenges to cover.
Okay, I'll slim it down here. So the coverage view is a great way to view who's on for a particular day. So we can break out coverages by if you have first, second, third shift, things like that. And we can look at a particular day. So here we're looking at 10, and we're looking at everybody's schedule. So anybody with orange is scheduled that day. Anybody who doesn't have an orange or gray or purple or anything like that is not scheduled. So to make this quick, if we scroll down to the bottom, we can see the number of person hours that are allocated at that particular time. So if we know our busiest time is between 11 and 12, and we should have at least 40 people on, we know we're covered here, and we know we're good. But if we were short of that, we could always look up and see who is, not scheduled, who's off, that we might be able to call and have come in and fill in for that couple of hour period. Now, to actually add the shift to them, the easiest way to do that is to use the team schedule, and I think I actually have that open here. I do. So if I were to click on that team schedule and launch it, this is what would show. So here we can see everybody's schedule and what they're working. So maybe Rocky here was going to cover for us, and he was going to work that 12 to 1 shift, or maybe I think that was 11 to 1. So we'll say 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And we can just add him in there like that and hit save, and he's now scheduled for that time. We can get even more granular by clicking on this pencil. And I don't want to get too deep into this because I know we're running low on time. But again, we could specify a particular pay type, for an example. So we can say, hey, thanks for coming in to cover this. I don't care how many hours you got. We're going to pay you overtime for those 2 hours. So you could set it up like that. And when they work those hours, it will actually pay them that overtime pay type. All right, Joe. So what's next?
With strategic labor planning nailed, let's talk about the 5th out of our 6 challenges, integration and data flow. So I've got another poll question for you. While you answer it, I'm going to tell you a story. Do you currently rekey employee data between HR, timekeeping, and payroll systems? Yes, every time, sometimes, rarely, or never. And here's my story. I was visiting with a payroll person, and I was talking about how awful actually rekeying data is, and on and on and on. And she actually looked at me and said, oh, it's not so bad. I have dual monitors. So I just put it up in one screen and then I type it in the other. And I'm a native New Yorker. I'm an Italian. And I went right into Southern mode. And in my head, I thought, oh, bless your heart, hon. Bless your heart. It's not hard. I have dual monitors. I thought, I don't want to hear it. If you have dual monitors, I don't want to know that you have one of those things clipped on the side of your monitor where you can put the piece of paper. I'm not a big fan of rekeying data between systems. So with that, I'm going to close out this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's see, survey says 41% of you are rekeying data every single time. Oh, we can make your world so much better. 27% never. That's what I want to hear. Your systems are integrated. 18% sometimes, and 14% rarely. So double entry and mismatched records create errors and rework. The answer is unified data with clean handoffs. And Michael, we've got that covered too, right?
We do. So of course we specialize in integration with Sage HRMS and Sage Payrolls, like Sage HRMS 100, 300, etc. But we can also integrate with ADP, Paycom, Paycor, UKG, and literally dozens more via a generic employee data interface. So what does that really mean? As Joe said, this can eliminate duplicate entries for your new hire. So you hire a new employee in HR, they will flow automatically into your time and attendance system. It will also take care of any updates. So if you update an employee's pay group, for example, that will flow across into your time and attendance system. If you terminate an employee, that again will flow across into your time and attendance system. So this is all happening automatically when you set it up in HR and you do it there. You don't even have to think about paying, time and attendance. It's going to happen there. So what kind of things flow across? So again, I mentioned pay groups. Your schedule groups will come across, accrual groups. If you have vehicles in the system, those will all come across. You can set up org level information. Secondary rates can come across, supervisor assignment, all of these can come across. But most importantly, it's going to grab the information that's necessary, the employee number, their employment, so their hire date, any kind of badge number they have, all of that can all flow across from HRMS. And when you think about, I just listed off 10, 11 things, think of how long it would take you to key all that in. And are you doing it right? Did you make a mistake? Did you assign somebody into something accidentally into the wrong thing? This eliminates all that. So the interface will just streamline everything, and we can have it usually set up to run hourly. So if you get a new hire, within an hour, you'll see them in the time and attendance system.
And this integration allows you to manage all employee data in one application. It eliminates that need for additional data entry after you hire someone. It also enhances your reporting capabilities, your data quality. It ensures timely synchronization of employee data.
Yeah, and I think the key takeaway here, Joe, is like unifying your data management and really improves reporting quality and eliminates redundant steps, saving you time and money.
So we're on our sixth and last challenge, Michael, employee engagement and retention. What best describes your employees' ability to access their schedules and hours? Do they have to ask a manager in HR? Can they see it, but it's not so easy? Maybe you have self-service online, or they can even do it over their phone. Transparency and flexibility build trust, and trust keeps good people. And being able for folks to see their schedule, see their hours, that's transparency right there. So automating time tracking and enforcing labor rules, Sage Time and Attendance creates a transparent and a fair workplace. Employees know their time is valued and their pay is accurate. And secondly, it empowers folks with self-service access to schedules and vacation data right from devices like the GT8 clock, the GT10 clock. Employees take control of their own time. That autonomy reduces friction and boosts morale. And third, it supports flexibility. Advanced scheduling options help managers align shifts with employee needs, improving work-life balance and reducing turnover. So I'm going to close out this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And look what we have. 55%, more than half, says an employee has to get their schedule and hours by asking a manager or HR. You can do better, folks. I'm going to challenge you. You can do better. 35% self-service online. Way to go. Woohoo! And 5% a mobile app. And also 5%, well, they can see it, but it's kind of like, where's Waldo? It's a little bit tricky. So, Michael, can we simplify this?
Well, sure. And I just want to touch upon what you were talking about transparency. So I'm actually logged in here as the employee, so I'm very limited in my access. But just like the administrators, if they come into a record, they can see everything that you did. Is there a rounding rule in place? What happened? So I can see my time was rounded. I clocked in at 8:16, but rounded my time back to 8:05. I can see the alerts that were generated in the system against me. If I go into the pencil record, I can see any comments that were made. All that other information is readily available to me. Now, this employee in particular has editing ability, so they're able to enter their own time. Other employees would simply be locked down. These would kind of be grayed out and they're uneditable. I can also see, just like the administrators and supervisors, I can see that audit log. So if I look at a record and I'm like, why was that changed? It's like, oh, I can see Veronica changed it when she did it. And I can go, hey, Veronica, why did you change this to engineer 1? And maybe she had a good reason for it. Maybe she was incorrect. Maybe she was like, oh, geez, I meant to do that for somebody else. Good catch. It's just complete transparency. So Joe had mentioned earlier, these rounding rules, they're indiscriminate. It doesn't care. There's no favoritism. It's like, boom, there's a rule in place. It hits. Again, it just allows the employees to see that transparency within the system. The other area that's kind of transparent like that, again, I'm talking fast here, Joe, is the accruals. So they can come in, and if they look at their accrual balance and they have any questions as to, well, how did I get there? They can come in, look at their bucket for the current year, and it's going to show them all their transactions. So kind of like that report we looked at earlier, it's going to show them when they accrued their time, any taken time they had, carryover adjustments. It's all right here in the system, so they can monitor it and keep track of it. Lastly, I'd like to point out just kind of a cool feature in the system. So say an employee is coming to their administrator or manager saying, hey, I don't see this, or I can't get this to work. If the manager comes into the security setup area and they actually pull that employee up, so let's say that was Donna that was reaching out to me, notice I can actually impersonate her. So this is like I actually have Donna's username and password. If I click this impersonate button, it logs me in exactly like Donna is. So here's Donna, how I logged in through ESS. Notice the same menu items, the same access in the system as I just did impersonating as the administrator. So it's a great tool to come in and say, okay, this is user error, or no, we need to reach out to Delphi and find out what's going on here. Something's broken.
And I love that impersonation feature. And just remember, folks, you don't need their login and password. You're not getting any of that secure data.
Yeah, correct.
Now, one last thing to show, you can have reports scheduled to send specific employees at a particular time. Maybe this is a report showing employees who have an upcoming anniversary date or a birthday you'd like to acknowledge. So let's see that really quickly, Michael, and I got to wrap it up.
Okay, so again, who doesn't like to be acknowledged on a birthday or anniversary date? So again, once you have a report set up, again, these are all in the system, we can actually schedule that report to fire out. So maybe every week you're going to get a report sent to you. And so you can see here, I have this report set up to run weekly. It's set up to run on, I think it's a Sunday night or whenever it is, but it's run on 3 a.m. on Monday morning. So 3 a.m. Monday morning, it's going to email this birthday report to so many employees, and it's going to go to these two. So these two are going to receive this report. I think I had one pulled up. Yeah, so here we go. They'd receive this report. So it's showing me whose birthdays are this month, and now I can acknowledge them and send a happy birthday or wish them something or buy them a gift. Whatever it might be, you can do that. So this is another great way to keep engaged with your employees and keep them engaged in the system and things like that. All right, hope that was quick enough for you, John.
Fantastic. So let's go back to the PowerPoint and wrap it up, folks. I want you to download the handout. You'll see it in the go-to control panel. It's got some extra slides in it that talk about these 6 challenges with some screenshots. As a reminder, those 6 core time and attendance business challenges that are solved with Sage Time and Attendance, which is powered by TimeStar, is compliance and risk mitigation, cost control and payroll accuracy, workforce efficiency and productivity, strategic labor planning, integration and data flow, and employee engagement and retention. So now I have 2 more poll questions for you. Do you want to continue the conversation and learn more about Sage Time and Attendance? So if you were some of the folks who answered, yep, we're doing everything by paper, yep, we're doing it by email, yep, we have to ask a manager about vacation or time off and things like that, then this is your chance to say, yeah, talk to me. If you are an existing Sage Time and Attendance user, we can chat with you and we can look and see how you're using the system. Is it configured okay? Make sure that you are unlocking all the possible value you can out of that investment. And if you're not, this is your chance to say, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? I know we've had a ton of questions like that in the Q&A, and I appreciate the team behind the scenes who have been answering those questions. That's fantastic. So I'm going to close out this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2. Last chance. Oh, they're clicking in. They're clicking in. So last chance. Here we go. 1. Okie doke. Now with that, I want to thank you for joining us. This is part of an ongoing series. This was episode number 3. We have 4 more episodes planned. So on September 23rd, we're doing a manager and employee self-service with HR Actions. October 14th, performance management with Maviva. November the 11th, we are doing analytics with HR Analytics. And then on December 2nd, alerts and workflow. So if you'd like us to automatically register you for any of those upcoming webinars, please select which ones you're interested in. We'll automatically get you registered behind the scenes. Of course, you'll get an email from GoToWebinar giving you that unique connection URL, just like you used today. But this way you can get that registration in. You'll get an email with an ICS, one of those calendar files. Add it to your calendar, make sure that time is booked. Of course, if you miss it, we record everything in this series, including the first 2 that we did in the series. One was a big overview about the entire Sage HRMS ecosphere. And then episode number 2 was all about iRecruit, applicant tracking and onboarding. So any of you would like us to register you for any of those upcoming 4, here's your chance. Let us know. I'm going to close out this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, there's 2. Every time I hit 2, you folks have this down pat. Now you should know. Hurry up, click, click, click. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Of course, if you missed registering, please download the handout. You'll find the handout in the control panel of the GoToWebinar application, and there are links you can click. Whew, what an hour we've had, Michael. We've talked about smart tools, smarter workflows, and Sage HRMS and its ecosystem, and they are ready to help you get more done with less effort. I appreciate you spending an hour with us this afternoon. I hope you go back and check episode number 1 and number 2 if you missed it, and I hope to see you at one of the future episodes that we just talked about. Of course, these are all available on the Sage website. If there's anything we can do for you, please don't hesitate to ask. Remember, you can always reach out to your Sage HRMS business partner. They're here to help. We're here to help. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to everyone who makes the Sage HRMS community so vibrant and active. Thanks, everybody, and bye for now.